Native People Show.
I love that intro. Thank you so much, Justin Peters over at Platinum Planet Records, for putting that intro together for me. It is truly lovely. It's actually running, Justin, if you're watching, for what, like 4 or 5 seasons? I love it. So we have a big show for you tonight, and I am so excited. First, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor before I break the news of our super amazing guy that we've got connected. So let's go ahead and bring up the sponsor information. Here we go. We have Red Bar. So Red Bar, it's a new generation of protein bars. This is what it looks like. It's all snazzy. It's metallic. Look at that. Red Radiant Energy Whole Food Nutrition Bar from plants. Let me tell you a little bit about this. A new generation of protein bars delivering low sugar, high fiber energy from handcrafted recipes are truly delicious. It really is. I have a whole collection that they've sent to me. We've got mint chocolate over here. My lights are a little bit too hot this evening, so you're not going to be able to see the boxes. But this one is peanut butter. It tastes like a peanut butter cookie, but not so sweet, not like toothache sweet. It tastes like it's whole, organic, good stuff. And it is. It's plant-based nutrition, gluten, soy, dairy, GMO free. 10 grams of protein in each one of them. And depending on the flavor, there's 2 to 5 grams of sugar. That's it. In the whole bar, 2 to 5 grams of sugar. So for me, I'm a hypoglycemic who loves to work out and loves to go. This is a perfect solution for me. It's pre-probiotics is what's inside of it. So that means tummy good. Like, you know, we all have heard of pre-probiotics. Probiotics, it's good. It's just good. Comes in chocolate, oatmeal, peanut butter, mint chocolate, salted caramel, and more. If you visit redbar.com, you'll get 15% off of your purchase today. But they've expanded over the years. So now you can find it at Publix. Of course, you can find like anything else. You can find it on Amazon and redbar.com. That's REDDBAR.com. So go visit Red Bar. Positive energy. I'm so thankful. Here it is. Here's my red card they sent me with a nice little note that says that they'd love to hear our feedback. So if you guys go out there and you go buy some Red Bars, please go back into the comment section of the show and let us know what you think. I think you're going to love them. I used to throw them into my gym bag all the time when I was multi-houring it every single day at the gym. And I think it's just absolutely fantastic. I truly do, and I'm not just trying to sell you a bar. I'm trying to sell you some goodness. So I have a new little segment, and I want to thank somebody out there, Mr. Carlos Martinez, who is helping me. He is booking out this show with some of the great guests that I have on the show. And he said, you know what, Liz, you know what you need to do? You need to hit us with a little bit of news up front before you bring on an interview. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So this is the news flash. All right, in our news flash, and I found this on spin.com. Of course, I'm not going to plagiarize anybody, but you can go out there onto spin.com and go look this up. It was a really interesting story, and I had to say I was a little confused, so I had to do more Google searches to really get to the bottom of it. The title reads like this: Spotify disabled auto shuffle on albums, all thanks to Adele. That sounds like a really weird title. This is something that truly recently happened. And it says here that Spotify, you know how you used to be able to just play an album and it would just go all the way through the songs? Well, Adele put her 2 cents out there and she said, no, I don't want you to do that. When I create a song, I create that song. I create that environment. I want you to think about what you're listening to. So they shut off the auto shuffle. I'm not too sure that I'm a huge fan of this, because what if, you're doing something else? What if you're cleaning the house, you're having a party and you just love Adele? You love any album that's on there. It's not just her albums, it's all of them. But what if you love what you're listening to and you want it to flow through? Like when I'm cleaning the windows, I want to listen to George Michael, and I don't want to have to keep Oh, Faith. Okay, let me find that. No, I don't want to do that. So I don't think that this is a very good move, but I do kind of get where she's coming from. Definitely an artist view. Hello, hello. Good to see you, Jeff Jones. Good to see you. Oh, thank you for the compliment. Good to see you, Ken Dodge. Guys, hold on for just a minute. I've got somebody waiting in the green room, and he's going to be out in just a minute. But we are going over. The weather is cold. Can you tell? My voice is like, I don't want to do it. We're going over a couple of news headlines, and I have 3 of them in total. So here's the second one. Paul Rudd named 2021 sexiest man alive. Okay, don't get me wrong. Paul Rudd is a nice looking guy. Sexiest man alive. Like, I remember when the sexiest man alive was Pierce Brosnan, like in his heyday. He was a good looking guy. Paul Rudd is good. I mean, you'll know him from Clueless, Knocked Up, This Is 40, Ant-Man. He's actually on that new show that I started watching because I thought, you know what, I think this is going to be really interesting. It is an interesting show. It's a little oddly cerebral right now, but it's got that dark twist that I love. It's called The Shrink Next Door. And, you know, we all know him as Mike Hannigan from Friends. So, yeah, he's good looking, 52. I didn't expect them to pick somebody who's 52 for Sexiest Man Alive. But there you go. That was just announced on the 10th, I think. I don't know. I don't have my date here. But recently, very, very recently, People Magazine announced him as the Sexiest Man Alive. And the last one, Miss America pageant, it's no longer on broadcast TV. It has gone to streaming. NBC Universal Peacock is where you're going to be able to find it. On December 16th is the 100th anniversary of the Miss America pageant. I thought that was really interesting. Now, they've had, you know, some political people. I know Donald Trump was on there forever and ever as the presenter, as, you know, the MC of the evening. They actually have 3 people. I really did have to look them up, and I know you guys are going to be more educated than me as to who they are, but Zuri Hall, who is a reporter, Patrick Ta, who is a makeup artist, and Nicole Adamo, I believe that's how I'm supposed to say her last name. She's sports and entertainment reporter. I thought that was an interesting collaboration of people to be able to present the Miss America pageant. So ladies, go out there, go do your thing and have a wonderful time at the Miss America pageant. And this was the news flash. All right. So I have a really awesome guy coming up to the broadcast. Everybody, thank you so much for popping in, saying hello. This is a totally interactive experience. If you have a question in the middle of our interview, please ask it, because I will pop you in there and I will stop my line of questioning to ask our guest your question, because you may have seen him. As we all know, tonight's guest of honor is Harley Wallen, and he is a multi-award winning filmmaker and actor from Sweden. Harley Wallen has been featured in Deadline, Hollywood, Variety, Daily Mail, starred in over 40 feature films and TV shows. That's why I said you will probably recognize him if you don't recognize the name, but I'm sure that you recognize his name. He has been in Betrayed, the crime thriller, Abstruse, which was an indie action film, Homicide Hunter. We all know that is a well-known television series. And he's here tonight to talk about his new series, Tale of Tales, which just featured in Deadline. So, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome to the broadcast Mr. Harley Wallen. 3, 2, 1, there he is. How are you?
Hello, I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me. You totally sold me on the bars. I can't believe it. I'm going to totally check him out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm so
good.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show tonight. You know, your background is so rich and it's so interesting. And you were born in Sweden.
Yep.
How long were you in Sweden before you decided, you know what, I need to go to the United States? And I'm assuming that's to go into your acting love.
Yeah. So I think from what my mom tells me, I decided that I was going to move when I was about 5 years old. Supposedly, I'm standing in front of the TV. We're watching some old Tarzan movie. You know, Johnny Weissmuller is swimming across. And I said, I'm going to move to America and I'm going to be a movie star. And I was completely convinced about it when I was 5. And the crazy thing is, even with all the things I did, it never let me go. It was always kind of something that I really wanted to do. But other things came in between. I started doing martial arts as a 7-year-old. I was awful for the first few years. At like 12 and a half years old, I stopped losing and I just kept winning and winning and winning. And it was insane. And I thought that was going to be my ticket to being somebody, so to speak. And I did all right. And then my friends started breakdancing. I came on board with breakdancing. I was the second person in all of Sweden to do the windmill. So I thought that was going to be my thing. And then a friend of mine who was releasing music said, you just kind of look like you have something to say. Your sister is such a good singer. Why don't you make some music? So we got in the studio. I made some music and I thought that was going to be the thing. I got on a TV show in Sweden as a breakdancer. It was a cabaret style show. And instead of hiring actors for the one-liners, they came up and asked us and they said, hey, do you want to come and buy tanning lotion at the little store in the scene? And I said, sure. And I started hanging out with the actors and I started realizing what acting is and how fascinating it is and how rich it is and how you learn a ton about yourself. It's like therapy. So I fell in love with acting. And after that, it became kind of like the goal again. And I moved at 24, 25. So yeah, I was a pretty young puppy heading over. And then after a pretty decent first year, I had to pay the bills and I got into the corporate environment and I climbed corporate ladders and that went well financially, but I just felt hollow. I didn't really do as much as I would want to in the arts. And I've been either a martial artist or a break dancer or a singer or a rapper or something my whole life. And suddenly I wasn't really feeding into my creative side, and it was really eating away at me. So about 7 years ago, I really started getting back into acting, almost like a hobby. And then there was a shift at the YMCA, which is where I was a director at, and they laid me off. And I said to myself, this is my sign, this is my opportunity. And I just went all in, and I've been doing this full time ever since. So between acting and filmmaking, it's all I do now, which is scary and wild and awesome all at the same time.
I love how your brain works. You just got us caught up from age 5 to present in about 3 minutes. So the
wow,
show,
that's pretty good.
See ya, good night. No, I do have a question for you because it sounds like you were pretty well into learning the craft and honing your craft in Sweden. And then you moved to the United States. So can you tell us a little bit about the difference of acting styles from Sweden to the US?
I really think, fundamentally, you're looking at Stanislavski and Strasberg and Meissner, the Stella Adler, all these people that are big in the industry. They're big there too. I think the difference is the budgets are so much smaller in much of Europe that they really beat you up with the acting to make sure. And I've seen that here as well and heard it from a lot of people that train at the great places, and they're hard on you and they really demand you to go through it, and there's no shortcuts. But I think that's fundamentally it, is that when you don't have the budgets and the explosions, etc., then you have to find a way to tell the story through the acting and through the experience.
That's a wonderful insight. We have learned or been told sort of somewhere in between here in the United States that when we look at British actors, for example, that they are somewhat held up on a pedestal that, this is acting. This is not American acting. And so I love that perception that you just put out there for the rest of us to try to grasp onto that reality of what it is, from the difference of acting in one country to another. And that's magnanimous. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you're pinched on that budget or possible locations or what have you, that you really have to bring the A game. Like, there's not going to be 10 takes to say thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That perfect push that goes right along with you, that nails it all in one. You don't always have, you have 2 and 3 takes most of the time. And you gotta nail it.
Absolutely. So when you got here in the United States, you were still really young, and you had said that, you gave it a year and a half, and then you had to go into corporate. What was the biggest challenge? What did you think that you wanted to happen when you got here, but it just didn't quite happen that way?
Well, I think, in all honesty, I was not ready for the level of competition here in Sweden. I felt like I would go into an audition and I would feel like I stood out, and then I would come to an audition here, and I walked in and I look around and I see a waiting room of me's, and I don't say that lightly. I literally mean they were blondish, blue-eyed, right around the same height, and obviously they were all well trained and ready to do this. So I think that was a bit shocking to me, was to see how many people are duking it out for a role, and that the little thing that a director says, oh, I want that, he can find it because it's here. It's not a bad audition. And now that I am a filmmaker, it's so nice because it stills my mind. I used to be the person that would go audition and I would think about it afterwards. And now I can audition and walk away. And I forget that I've even done the audition, and then you get the callback or whatever, and you're like, oh, wow, that's cool. But that was not how I was originally. Each audition to me was so big. And then reading about these big actors that did hundreds of auditions and didn't get anything, that was it was pretty mind-boggling to see and experience, and it thickens your skin, which you do need in this business.
Oh, I agree with you. Absolutely. So when you went into corporate, what type of tools do you think you found within that corporate journey for you to then re-enter into the industry as an actor once again later on?
I definitely think, you become much better with systems and organization. In the film industry, it's weird because I have this happen all the time, dealing with distributors or sales agencies or theaters or whatever it may be. You can contact people and literally not get a response in this industry, which is, to me, is absolutely crazy, because at all the jobs I've ever worked, you have like 24 hours. And if you haven't responded to an email and they reach somebody above you, you get reprimanded. So I think coming back at this and being an artist, but being organized and prepared and all those things that you're forced to gain in the corporate world, I think has helped me a lot, especially as a filmmaker.
Now, take us into the world of becoming a filmmaker. I know there are 40 different projects and then some that we can talk about as far as you being in some capacity, because I can only imagine, have you done some stunts along with your acting? With your black belt background, I can only imagine you've probably done a lot of fight scenes.
Yes, indeed.
So as you've gone through your life as an actor and you've filled your repertoire of so many different skills, then did you decide to become a filmmaker, or where was that pinnacle moment in your life where you thought, you know what, this is what I need to do?
It's funny, but I think it slowly but surely built under my skin, and I never even realized it. But I would be on set and I would see them do things, and I would say, that's just not a good way. I would just realize, I would in my head start, whether it's producing or directing or organizing, and I started paying attention because I wanted to know what they were talking about. When the gaffer was talking about the light with the cinematographer, I never realized how big of a deal it is where and how you catch the light. So I started trying to figure out a way to feel the light on me, so that way I could find a way to maximize that when I was acting and make it a natural part of what I was doing. But it wasn't until they cut the film incentives in Michigan that I truly decided. I had been on, a bunch of independent sets, and they were not very organized. Half of them never finished and released, and we had all these things, and I was just frustrated. And then they cut the film incentives, so I didn't have any of the bigger projects coming to Michigan anymore. And I had to figure out that if I don't step in right now, it's going to be really tricky in getting projects that I want to make. The films locally weren't the greatest. The stories weren't the strongest. I think there were mostly people that were hobby filmmaking, which there's nothing wrong with. But when you have goals and aspirations, those can be really hard for you and hard on you when people aren't serious about their craft. So that was kind of what did it for me. So about 6 years ago, I remember I said I want to make a short film and enter a film festival here, and we talked about it, and my wife said, all right, let's do it, and we did, and we didn't win, but it was a really good experience because I learned how hard this is, and that's something that I think, especially when you're aiming to do something special, it's a lot of work to make something that will have the quality that's meaningful.
So what was your first experience behind the camera before you opened up your production house?
That was literally it. It was my first short film. Yeah. Me and we were on set shooting a TV series called Psychology of Murder, and it was an indie series. And me and Walbert were sitting around, and we heard about the incentives getting cut, and we literally looked at each other and said, we got to start doing something, because literally this is so detrimental to actors already in Michigan. And we slowly but surely started seeing people leaving Michigan, going to Atlanta and whatnot. And we just decided that we were going to team up and we're going to make a short film. And I came home, told my wife, and she was all supportive of it. Her sister has got, I believe, 5 Emmys at this point. So I think that was all I needed. When she was on board, Walbert wanted to go. We just decided, and we kind of made our first short film by committee. But it was a good learning experience, even though it was not at all up to par. But sometimes what you need to learn is that you're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. All right. So if somebody's watching this and they're like, yeah, I want to do this. I haven't been behind the camera yet, but I want to do this. I want to open up my own production house. Are there some classes that you would tell them to go take? I mean, you had to have done something.
Yes.
To kind of get your gears all lined up so that it would work. What did you do?
Well, for me, I went online and I started looking at some kind of online class because I didn't want to go to a traditional film school. I felt that it would take too long and take up too much time and money that I didn't have. Being a foreigner in a different country, I don't have the support system that most people have. There's no mom and dad, brother, sister, cousins. I don't have any of that. So I found an online film school called rocketjump.com. And that was where I found myself. And I was watching videos until I was blue in the face. And I went through it so fast because I become compulsed by these things. So when I love something, I remember when I started training judo and I was finding myself, and I was training 6 hours a day, and it was no problem for me. And it's the same thing when I started with acting classes. I got an acting coach and an acting class, and I jump in and I give it everything I got. I think that's the athlete in me that's just wired that way. But I did the same thing with filmmaking. And then I have a good friend his name is Jerry Hayes, who was a filmmaker, who took me in under his wing and helped me with a lot of the things that I did not know. and he'd made probably like 20 short films and 5 feature films at that point. So it was really good to learn, you know, a lot of the things that you generally have to pick up by experience.
What would be that one thing where you thought, oh, you know, was it the wafting of trying to get the atmosphere right? Was it the lighting? What was that one thing that maybe was a little bit more of a struggle to grasp and to get right every single shot? Was there anything?
Yeah, there's been a few things. I think as a director, I always tell people, imagine that you're sitting on a swivel board and you're making a vase, and you gotta take your own hands off of that, and then you have to get 100 people's hands on this vase, guiding it, and make one vase with all of their hands that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That was really, really tricky, and to understand how to convey my vision to other people and then allow them a shared vision without destroying the red herring. There's so many things with this that's so complex that it's a miracle whenever you can create a feature, especially. I think people don't realize how hard it is to make a feature film. It is quite the endeavor. Now but that's the hardest part is stringing it all together.
Okay. Now you have a project that we're about to talk about, and this is more of an episodic project. And we were talking about filmmaking. Obviously, filmmaking also includes the episodic, the television show type filming. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer filming a movie, or do you prefer filming the episode type show?
Ooh, if before we started Tale of Tales, I would have said a feature film, because it's like a 5-course meal or whatever you want to call it. You have beginning to end, everything in one. You get to start the experience, you get to see all the way through, and you get the ending, and that feels really satisfactory. What you can do with the episodic is you can visit more places, you can dig deeper. So there are things about that I like. The thing that I don't love about it is you can really change your mind and move stuff around and make something completely different. I look back at Dexter. I loved Dexter, but in all honesty, Dexter should have ended when he caught John Lithgow, and like that. It was done at the end of season 4. That should, in my opinion, should have been over. We did everything. After that, it became lost. It was just too much, too crazy, didn't make sense. And now we're doing things just for shock and awe, and the story is not as good as it was. That's the trick with the episodic, is when you get really successful, sometimes you lose yourself in it.
Yeah, it definitely seems to me, and I, as a viewer, and I think, a lot of other viewers that I've been in the room while we're sitting there watching television shows together, and it's like you get to ride this great, big, huge wave on a surfboard, and you're riding that thing out, and you never know when it's going to collapse, and you can kind of see shows, they hit like their 8th, 9th, 10th year, and they want to shut it down right at the right time.
Yeah.
You never want to jump the shark, right?
Yeah. I feel like that a little bit with a couple of shows. Very few got it really right and ended where they should. That one of the things I always take my head off is Seinfeld, to have, like, how do you do that? How do you stop when you're at the peak, at the top, the way they did? It's just takes a lot. I mean, I think about that as a fighter, even, being a champion and retiring. That is what you should do, but it's so hard to do because you always think you have another one in you.
You do, and I think you can feel the deflated energy, like with Seinfeld. I think if it's season 1 with Seinfeld, I've got to say I didn't really grab onto. I thought this was a little bit they were playing the character a little too much, and then they settled in, and it was like rocking and rolling. So by the time they ended it, we were all like, oh man, like, but it could have done this, it could have done that. So I love shows where they grab you, and you have a show that grabs the audience. I'd love to talk about your newly created show and where it's going, what it's all about. It's called Tale of Tales.
Yeah. Right now, we are exclusively on Tubi, and the show's called Tale of Tales, and it is a show that's set in a strip club environment, which for me, when I was brought on board, I didn't really know it. I was curious about it. I will say right now, I'm not a strip club kind of guy, so I haven't spent but 5 days of my entire life in one. So it was really fascinating to read the guy who created the original pilot, Tevis Markham. He has worked in and out of strip clubs for quite a while, and a ton of the stories are true and real. They've just been fabricated into this bigger script, but it's a really wild setting, and I was intrigued to do it because of the fact that we all made, I feel, really good decisions with the story. We decided we were not going to be very gratifying with this, that we were not going to be making this as something like, yay, go become a stripper, and strip clubs are great, but more of showing the good, the bad, and the ugly about him. And I think that makes it interesting as a setting, although the story itself is not so much about the strip club. The story is about Nick, who owns the strip club, who has been getting around his whole life, almost like a low-time mobster who's just trying to figure out how to get enough money to buy his own island and retire and live happily ever after with all the things he wants in life. And he can't seem to find a way to do that because he always makes bad decisions, but he's very adaptive and figures out a way to survive, which, when you're looking at Breaking Bad and the Ozarks and stuff like that, I think we drew a lot from those series in looking at overcoming. And that's what I think is so intriguing about the series, is his ability to find a way to sidestep and get ahead even when everything is going against him. It's a very fun role to play too.
I can imagine. So who do you have starring in this episodic?
So our three leads is myself, actually my wife, who plays the cop that's continuously chasing me, and Tevis Markham, who plays the roadie DJ. Our guest stars for the season, Jan Birch, who is actually the stairmaster in The People Under the Stairs, plays a drug dealer, and I will go out on a limb and say it's the best I've ever seen him. He's amazing in this, and people should watch it just to see him play this drug dealer because he's fantastic. Blanca Blanco plays a dancer at the club who kind of gets tangled up in all this. So she's a seasoned guest star as well. We had Richard Tyson in, who actually plays my adoptive father in the TV series. And Richard is awesome. I had a pleasure to work with him a bunch of times. And for anybody who doesn't know, this guy is literally a Shakespearean actor who is in the back room doing Shakespeare in front of the rest of the actors. He's a blast to work with. And then Michael Emery from Blue Bloods, he's in there as well.
Oh, very cool. So I want to bring up the poster that is actually all over the internet as well as IMDb, if anybody goes to look you up on IMDb, and it is loaded up with awards. Tell me about these awards. Wow.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was as shocked as you are, especially with the subject matter and especially with it being a little spicy. I remember us saying, hey, let's not go too hard on these festivals because, there's probably not a festival type of show. And they loved it. And everywhere we went, we literally, I've never had a project be so littered with awards and nominations as this, and all over the world. So I think that has also helped why the TV series has sold to so many countries and why it's kind of all over at this point.
All right. So I'd like to get a little bit deeper into the story if you can share with me, because
Yeah.
there again, as we had mentioned with a show that's called Tale of Tales, and the poster, the way it is, it's definitely attention getting. Absolutely. But it's one of those shows where, if it was me and my husband, would be like, oh, we got to wait until the boys go to sleep and close
Yeah.
doors. And like, we don't know. So I'm also gathering from what you're saying that this isn't just about strippers. Like, does it focus anything on the girls? Do any of them decide to leave stripping and go for something a little bit more morale? I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we actually made a commitment. It's funny that you say that, but we made a commitment when we started this, as one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted to see one girl get out of the industry healthy in a good way every single season. That was a commitment that we made, and we have that as a part of it. But it's also takes place. The main plot for the first season is that we have a girl that ODs in a bathroom, and then she's suddenly missing. Little do we know that that's the sister to a police officer, and that she's going to be a very difficult cookie for us to deal with, and she's going to be very emotionally tied into this. So even though she doesn't get the lead on the case and so on and so forth, because of the emotional baggage, she's really on their tail, so to speak, the entire time. And that makes it a cool part of the story as well, is we get that law and order side of things also functioning all the way through this. And what I also like to do with the character of the sisters is I wanted to show that sometimes a little bit of opportunity could have changed things, and one could have been the other, and so on. I felt like they judge each other pretty harshly as adults because of the decisions they made. But I also wanted to show that maybe they aren't so different, and maybe we shouldn't judge people so harshly, because maybe it was a roll of the dice at some point in our lives that made us take one sidestep, and then suddenly we're doing something we never expected. And I think that's a healthy place to look at things, because I think when we look at things with a bit of compassion, we can do a lot more in life, just in general. Whenever you come at it and you're better than somebody else, nobody listens. But when you can come at them and say, I understand, I could have been there if I did this or that, maybe. I don't see it, but maybe I could. So we wanted to take that approach with them, with the sisters, to really play that out, that how different are they really?
That's very, very dynamic. I love that. And I had a feeling that there was a lot of richness in the show that I definitely wanted to highlight. What was your favorite award, or maybe a festival that you thought, oh man, I don't know. What was that one that you really hold a little bit closer?
I think we recently won Hollywood Global, which is a fairly decent sized festival, and they flew me out in August, and we won the best TV series, and I was really, really excited. And then after that, they called us back, and we were just back 2 weekends ago, and my wife won Best Actress for her performance in the series. So to go twice, to come out, be a part of a giant event like that, and come home with 2 awards is pretty cool. Although there are some European awards that I know are really big festivals, as far as how well known they are, that I think would be possibly higher up on the ladder. But the experience of going out and hanging out with all these celebrities and get awarded best show, knowing the competition is pretty fierce. That was pretty special. I have to admit that.
That is so awesome. So how many episodes have you filmed? What season are you in? I'm assuming just season 1.
Yes. So season 1 dropped in late June, early July. exclusively on Tubi. The exclusive part is just about to be over. So either at this point we will become an original, or we will be allowed to go to other networks. And I know when we originally accepted Tubi's offer, we had a lot of interest from other outlets as well. So this is going to be pretty interesting right now, because we have no idea. Obviously, we're going to stay on Tubi because they've been really good to us. But we'll see what else comes about with this. Probably going to be some new outlets joining them here very soon.
And so seasons are all scrambled, after 2020, and seasons sort of got a little hiccuped. And so
Yeah.
some people are still filming on the traditional, was it about 13 episodes for a season? How are you filming? How many episodes are going to be in season 1?
So season 1 is 8 episodes, which we've already been yelled at on all of social media. That's not enough. So we will probably go to a 12 season episode, season 2. That's more than likely the way we're going to go. We got yelled at because we chose to do the Schitt's Creek Cobra Kai format of a 20 minutes or so episode. And essentially with 8 episodes, that means in about 3 hours, you've watched 3.5 hours, you watched the whole season.
Right.
So we realized that a ton of people binge watch this in a night, and then they're like, where's the rest? And that's a tough place to be in. So season 2 likely to be a 12 episode season.
Okay. We have a viewer with a question. Ken Dodge is asking, is Netflix possibly in the future?
Netflix took the longest out of all to respond, and we were really close from what I understand. So they're definitely a player with this now that we are wrapping up our exclusivity. So that's one of them. I know Hulu and Netflix were both interested. I believe Hulu had a bid, and at the time, my sales agent had a better relationship with Tubi and felt that they were really kind of exploding right now, and felt that it was a good choice. So this is going to be an interesting one. I have no idea. I'm a big fan. Actually, funny enough, I started watching a lot more Tubi from being on there. I was not very well aware about Tubi, which is embarrassing to say as a filmmaker, but it's actually a really good outlet, and it's free. So it's kind of hard not to like it.
It is. It's a great outlet. And you know what? There's just so many of them because streaming content, as I mentioned in my little bit of news in the beginning with the Miss America pageant, it's gone to streaming. I can't say that I'm surprised because that's just the wave of the future. It's how people are watching. They're watching streaming. The days of setting your alarm and we got to have dinner early because my show's on at 8 and I got to watch my show, and then you go to work and everybody saw it and I didn't, and we can't watch it. Those days are over. So it's really interesting because some of the younger people who are now in their 20s, they've never ever known it like that. They've never known TV like it was for us when we were younger in our 20s. So for season 2, I have a production question. How long does it take you to film? So let's say 8 episodes. How long did it take you to film those? And then how long was it for post-production for people that might be thinking about becoming a filmmaker? I'd really like to highlight that.
So we had about a 20 to 22 page script per episode, and it took us 4 days per episode. So then figure 8 episodes. So you're looking at 32 shooting days for the whole thing. We were blessed that our editor started editing immediately. So everything was clipped into scenes and assembled right away, which really helped us have a shorter post-production run. The hardest part with the post-production was to do the sound design and the scoring and the music. We're very, very heavy on music. Anybody who's a big music fan will probably really enjoy the show. We have fantastic musical artists. I mean, we have Twisted in there, which is a giant, and they do mostly horror So it's kind of cool to see them come over and do stuff with us. And then Randy and Alan Lynch scored it, and they're a record label. So they brought on so many fantastic musical artists. From what I understand, our soundtrack is doing really well on Amazon, and I totally get it. It's probably the best music I've ever had in anything I've created.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. I have to say the next move I'm going to make is when I go to, get ready for bed tonight. I'm going to be like, honey, we need to check out this show.
Make sure the kids are asleep.
I have a question from a viewer asking about the actors, your cast, your actors and actresses. Are they all SAG union? Do you have any non-union actors, or I'm assuming they're probably all union. Is that correct?
Actually, it is a bit of a split. So we do what's called a SAG ULB, or a new media, generally when we make our films, which allows us to employ both. The beauty of that system is that you have to treat a SAG actor under all the rules and regulations with SAG, and then you can negotiate individually with the non-SAG actors. Especially with us shooting this in Michigan, and Michigan no longer having incentives, it would be almost impossible to shoot this with only SAG people without flying in a ton of people, which would make the budget pretty unattainable as an indie project.
Absolutely. All right. And I have a location question. This is just my own curiosity. I don't know. Everybody's going to be like, why are you asking that? Your location that you're using, is it an active strip club? Are you using it after hours, or is this a location that's just vacant?
It is a vacant location. And it was actually not a strip club. We put up all the poles and everything else and set design this place, but it's a place that's been closed for about 10 years. It was a lesbian bar last time it was opened, I believe. And we kind of turned it around. It's such a good location for visuals. It's so rich in atmosphere. It was an easy choice to make, and we really liked it. So I think it works out well on screen. It took a little bit of work, but it was worth it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared. I mean, really a lot of detail that I asked you about Tale of Tales. Congratulations on your success. Congratulations to your wife for all of her awards and your awards through the festival circuit. And I can't wait to see it everywhere. I think that's where it's going. So we're going to see it everywhere. And I want everybody to go catch the show. It's called Tale of Tales. It's currently on Tubi. And very, very soon, I think it's going to be on a lot more networks. So congratulations. Oh, wait, let me see. I think I have another question coming in, so I don't want to disconnect yet. I was actually going to ask if you were using a club or sound stage. Okay, so he's following along. He was listening, and I guess he's validating my question. It wasn't a crazy question.
Yeah, it was.
I was touching back. There was one time where I was working on a project. It was a television show, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it may have been Satisfaction, which then changed names. It was on the USA channel. And so we had a scene in a strip club. And I've got to say, I actually really enjoyed it, because I didn't realize when you look up, there's scratch marks. There's shoe scratch marks at the top of the pole.
Wow.
I was looking up, and I'm like, how in the world do they get their shoes to scrape the ceiling? And then the names on the lockers just cracked me up, because their stage names are all on the lockers.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Like I said, because we didn't use it, we made it into a strip club. So we had to get a guy who works at a strip club to come and install the poles to make sure that they would hold. We had real dancers doing the aerials and the stuff that we needed on the poles. So they needed to hold up and work properly. But yeah, that was all of this stuff was a great learning experience. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, I'm just so excited for your success. You have such an amazing story. And to have to interrupt your love as you did, even though it gave you a lot of strength moving forward of going through that corporate experience before you really, really took off in the entertainment industry. I just congratulate you. I know what that feels like, and I can't wait to see more projects that you have coming. And thank you so, so much for your time with me tonight. And again, congratulations on Tale of Tales and everything else you've been in. I mean, just my paperwork says 40 projects. I know there's a ton more.
Yeah.
And you're a break dancer and you're a black belt. I mean, good grief. You're a very talented guy. I'm very, very lucky to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You rock. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Well, have a great, you know what? Have a great Thanksgiving. I keep forgetting.
Thank you. You too.
Week.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and enjoy it. And make sure you watch Tale of Tales after the kiddies are in bed.
I'll do it. You got it. All right. I'll see you again next time. All right. Bye-bye. Oh my goodness. What a wonderful show. I love this show. I love you guys. Look. Hi, Ernie. Hello. It is good to see you. It's good to see you, Ken. I believe I saw Jane earlier. I did. And I saw Michael. Oh, Ralph. Hey, Ralph. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for participating in the show, asking good questions. I mean, Harley was amazing, and you've got to go check out Tale of Tales. So for this evening, I'm going to wish you a wonderful slumber, a wonderful week. If you're still working, have a great work day tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ken. Yes, it was spectacular. I love my guests, and always, we are blessed. You are blessed, and I love